While Kyiv is repelling Moscow's onslaught, Ukrainians are protecting Astana and the Baltic countries from attacks Russian chauvinists. Unlike they have silenced Belarus in every way, this clearly threatens Kazakhstan and other Baltic countries. And the goal of the present war, a confrontation with Ukraine, means the destruction of our land. Our people, our lives, our resources are being turned into a weapon against you, against the internet, from Lukashenko, who sold out the country completely.
And now I'll show you where the attack on Belarus was being prepared from. And if a preemptive strike hadn't been carried out on the position 6 hours before the operation, 4 positions, I'll show you now, I brought a map.
Kasim-Jomart Tokayev, relying on China, from time to time delivers resounding slaps to the bunker dweller.
It has been carefully calculated that if the fundamental right of all nations and peoples to self-determination were actually and fully implemented across the entire globe, then instead of the 193 countries that currently make up the United Nations, there would actually be more than 500 or even 600 independent states existing on Earth.
Previously, under the cover of the CSTO, the Kremlin sent troops into Kazakhstan to suppress the January 2022 protests in major cities. Russian occupiers killed hundreds and wounded thousands of Kazakhs. Could Russia, having failed to achieve success in Ukraine, redirect its aggression toward Kazakhstan? Is Astana prepared to defend its territories which the Kremlin claims? And what is the overall state of Kazakhstan's armed forces? After all, with Russia as a neighbor, the army is the only reliable guarantee of security. After the collapse of the USSR, Kazakhstan, like Ukraine, inherited a nuclear arsenal. Economic crises, technological degradation, and international pressure led to Clinton and Nazarbayev signing an agreement in 1994 on Astana's voluntary renunciation of nuclear weapons. The nuclear arsenal, inherited from the communists, the world's 4th largest, with 410 warheads, including 104 intercontinental, was destroyed or sent to Russia with US help. At that time, Moscow, as it did for Kyiv in Budapest, guaranteed security to the Kazakhs.
Kazakhs? Brothers, what ingratitude is this then? Guys, did you really think that Russia would just disappear somewhere? Emigrate to Mars? Take a closer look at Ukraine. Think seriously about it.
In addition to the nuclear baton, Kazakhstan inherited vast territories. The country ranks 9th in the world by area with almost 2.8 million square kilometers, yet it is 183rd in terms of population density. Only 6 people per square kilometer. From a military standpoint, this means very poor logistics, that is, unfavorable conditions for organizing the supply of troops.
The situation in Ukraine is clearly mirrored in Kazakhstan. There are also huge regions there populated by Russian speakers.
There in Kazakhstan, some people believe that in the future we want to take northern Kazakhstan from them, according to the so-called Ukrainian scenario. What do you think? Did we ever have such plans? Are we counting on that in any way?
I believe that we have historical rights to these lands.
The army of Kazakhstan, the Kazakh Republic, numbers about 40,000 personnel, while the Russian invasion force in Ukraine numbered around 200,000. And this possibility is practically reduced to zero. In other words, with 40,000 troops, the Kazakh army is virtually unable to cover the entire length of the Russian-Kazakh border.
If we look at Kazakhstan as a theater of military operations, which is something Russian officials and propagandists have been constantly hinting at since the invasion of Ukraine, and aside from logistical problems, the Kazakhs would face another difficulty in defending their borders. According to experts, the terrain and the lack of large rivers or water barriers would make it harder to defend the northern borders.
the condition that existed in Ukraine, specifically the black soil, where Russian equipment would get stuck and was subsequently abandoned by the Russian occupiers, will not be present. Let me emphasize once again, 55% of the area is desert and semi-desert. Apparently, there will be what is called focal defense. That is, battles will take place directly in urban environments.
In addition to the catastrophic lack of manpower, if all 40,000 Kazakh servicemen were deployed to the Russian-Kazakh border, the defense density would be 1 soldier per 200 meters. The armed forces of Kazakhstan have another drawback: their dependence on the Kremlin in terms of intelligence and military technology. Astana has almost no domestic military production. The Kazakh army depends on imported weaponry for more than 95% of its needs. Russia is practically the only supplier to the country, providing both weapons and ammunition.
The air defense systems, that is Kazakhstan's air defense system, is integrated into the overall CSTO system. That is, accordingly, Moscow knows the precise locations of the launchers, and likewise, even the identities and details of the personnel of those air defense units of the Republic of Kazakhstan that provide coverage of the Kazakh skies are known to them.
Although on May 7, Kazakhstan held a large-scale military parade for the first time since 2018 in honor of Victory Day, where military equipment and the potential of Kazakhstan's army were showcased.
The whole country watched the military parade, which promises to be one of the most spectacular events of the year.
The backbone of Kazakhstan's army consists of outdated Soviet and Russian equipment. For air defense, Astana relies on Soviet S-300 systems and Russian BUKs. The ground forces use Soviet-Russian BTR-80 armored personnel carriers and T-72 and T-80 tanks. The situation in aviation is even worse. Kazakhstan lags behind Russia both in the quality and quantity of its fighter jets.
Kazakh fighter jets are still generation 3+, while the core of the Russian aerospace forces is generation 4+, meaning their aircraft are more technologically advanced and essentially leave Kazakh aviation with no chance.
For many years, Kazakhstan relied on international treaties to ensure its military security, starting with the already mentioned nuclear memorandum in 1994. Later on, Astana signed many other agreements that in one way or another concerned the country's military security. However, February 2022 showed that when it comes to a nuclear neighbor aggressor, international organizations, treaties and memorandums do not work. Moscow is deliberately militarizing its society, effectively preparing a propaganda foundation for future hybrid and full-scale wars.
Back then, I kept laughing about it, thinking, well, it just can't be Kazakhstan and America, really? Military laboratories? But no, wait, do they actually exist? There are 2 in Kazakhstan. So a direct confrontation is inevitable, without a doubt.
That's all for now. Don't forget to write in the comments which types of weapons you'd like to learn more about. Give this video a like and, of course, subscribe to our Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.